What is going on? I'm blurry. What is going on? Welcome everybody. It's Coach T with Chicago Bears 360. Listen, why wait on Braggs, man? Braggs is in here. Why fix these tech issues, man? Let's get into the intro. Here we go. Cue the intro, maestro.
Contra.
Life like chess, move to pieces, you know I roll in silence. On the road to them Benjis, I fill my teeth with diamonds. I'm high as fuck in the sky, you would've thought I'm pilot. I'm from Chicago, it get ugly, fill the streets with violence. Life like chess, move to pieces, you know I roll in silence.
Past, present, future. We bear down.
And just like that, we are back. I don't know what was going on with that Braggsy there, but you know what I'm saying? You're allowed to fumble every once in a while. What's up, my guy?
What up? What up? It's your favorite drunk uncle.
Oh, you remember that, do we? We
Oh, of
remember
course.
that, do we? You want to start out the show hot, don't you?
I wear that with pride. Come on, now.
You that was pride. Listen, Greg is, I don't know if y'all was part of the channel, but Greg was one of our honorary recipients of the Drunk Uncle Award last year over his takeover Luke Getsy, which we're going to get into, by the way, because it seems like I think we spoke about this time last year, right? And Luke Getsy was, you know what I'm saying, the trending topic at that time, ironically. And this guy his name is still in the media, you know what I'm saying, as part of the conversation with this Bears organization. But let's catch up first, man. You know what I'm saying? How you been, bro?
Doing good. Just rolling along. It's been a frustrating season.
Yeah.
So not reaching exactly my expectations of where I thought they'd be.
Mm-hmm.
Then you fucking rewind the tape and you're like, damn, if they had just won the Denver and Detroit game like they should have, no excuses to lose either of those games, they'd kind of be right on track to where I thought they were going to be. I had them winning 9 games, and if they were 6-6 right now, I'd be feeling pretty good about that prediction. And instead, we're 4-6 on the outside looking in and having a lot of questions about what the future of this franchise is going to be.
Yeah, I think Herb Howard did a good job of it, kind of asking Matt Eberflus yesterday, what was the issue? How did he perceive, the last 8 games, him possibly having been, I think he said 4-4 over the last 8 games, but that could possibly have been 9-3, right? And then how does it play on his mentality? He said, hey, you can look at it either way. You could be positive about it, or you can be optimistic about it, but you also have to be real about it. And I think that kind of permeates a little bit of the emoticons of Bears fans nationwide, right? We like to be optimistic about, the outlook of our Bears, but at the same time, you have to, take a step into reality, man. I think you make a good point about that, right? So let's start from the top to the bottom, right? Well, let's talk about the record as is, and then kind of start from the top to the bottom. Let's start with the GM, because a lot of important decisions to make, you know what I'm saying? None bigger than the decision about what to do with Justin Fields. But you know what I'm saying? Let's start with how good of a job do you think Ryan Poles has done so far? Like, what's your real life, take on what he's doing? How's he doing so far?
Well, like you said, knowing that his biggest decisions are still ahead of him,
Right.
that are going to make or break his whole, arch here as the Chicago Bears GM. I mean, it's going to be the story.
Right.
But up to this point, I think he's done a great job. And I know there's some Bears that fans will be like, what? I don't understand Bears fans that don't see how good of a job Ryan Poles has done so far.
Right.
I understand he's made some mistakes. Velus Jones, not a great draft pick. Trading for Chase Claypool, giving up that second round pick, not a great move.
Mm-hmm.
I don't expect my GM to bat 1,000.
Right.
And so I peel back the curtain and I look at the foundation being built here. First off, he had to rip it to the studs.
Right.
And, some fans will say, well, anybody can do that. Anybody can rip a team apart. Well, I know just from my lifetime as a Bears fan that they've always tried to put a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. And it hasn't always been George McCaskey's MO to hire a guy that wants to rip it down. Every guy that's ever came in, he wants to hire a guy that's fixing the problem that can't be fixed. And so I gave George McCaskey, who I've always been critical of, a lot of credit for hiring Ryan Poles when Ryan's clear vision was to trade everyone right out the gate.
Right.
So tore it down, put our team in a great position for salary cap the next 2 years, started building through the draft. Now you look at the team where it stands today, your left tackle and your right tackle could be, as long as they continue on with Braxton Jones through the draft, got that checked off. Your running back room has been great the last 2 years. I feel confident that they understand how to find the right backs. You've got DJ Moore in this house now, one of the better wide receivers, top 5 potential type of wide receiver in the league, at least from a production standpoint is concerned. You've got Cole Kmet now extended, who's having back-to-back great years. So I love what he's doing there. Still work to be done on the trenches. Then you flip it over to the other side. Bring in Montez Sweat. Dude's been unbelievable and could be a catalyst to now this defense actually playing some football. Jervon Dexter, Zach Pickens, I'm intrigued. I think their floor is that they're solid rotational pieces with ceiling that can be much higher than that.
Right.
Dominique Robinson was a miss. Okay. Where did they draft Dominique Robinson? The 5th round?
Right.
Okay. I'll get
But you got that's kind of, it kind of cancels itself out because you got a 5th round tackle that's doing this thing and over the next couple of weeks has the opportunity to submit himself as the left tackle of the future in Braxton Jones.
Linebacking core, great. Some people are like, oh, they should have kept Roquan Smith. TJ Edwards is just as productive as Roquan's been. Right. Has Tremaine Edmonds lived up to how much they're paying him yet? No, but they just got a pass rush about 3 weeks ago. Right. So I can give him a little bit of a benefit of the doubt. Not to mention the entire secondary was hurt for the first 6 weeks of the season.
Right.
And Jack Sanborn, you get him undrafted. Oh, by the way, you've had 2 different undrafted free agents in the last 2 years. Jack Sanborn and Tyson Bagent, as a guy that is an intriguing developmental backup quarterback. Right. And now you move finally to the secondary where you have, I think that's one of their best groups on both sides of the ball. Jaquan Brisker, Kyler Gordon, Tyreek Stevenson. He didn't bring Jalen Johnson in here, so that's a decision he has to make.
But Smith
Terrell Smith, like you said, Josh Blackwell, Jalen Jones as backup guys. So I just listed off a whole bunch of guys. I don't know how people can't be and then, oh, by the way, he made a trade for a future first round pick, which could end up being the number 1 pick in the draft.
Right.
With another year of salary cap. So I think Ryan Poles doing a great job. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I think with the ebb and flows of GM decisions, right, you have to pay attention to the trend line overall, right? So it'll go up and down. He's trending up. It'll go down because of Chase Claypool, but it's trending back up. It'll go down because of Velus Jones. But all things being all things being equal, I believe the trend line is trending up a little bit more than slightly overall, and we can say he's done a pretty good job. So I'm going to ask you the question because going into this draft, right, Greg, there's a lot of questions about what to do with those first round picks, particularly if we should draft Marvin Harrison Jr. But I'm not going to ask you the same question that everybody else is asking you when you're on their show. I'm going to ask you, instead of asking you a question about Marvin Harrison Jr. At the top pick, I'm gonna ask you to choose or tell me, do you believe Marvin Harrison Jr. is more valuable than the haul we got for DJ Moore? So all things being equal, if we could replicate that haul we got for DJ, do you think he's more valuable as an individual player than the haul? I've asked everybody that come on the show that question.
No, he's not, because you got one guy in the trenches. You got a wide receiver that's got top 5 production in the league, and you got a future first round pick and a future second round pick. Marvin Harrison Jr. might be a great wide receiver in this league. Generational type of talent. I know that word's been thrown around a lot lately. But top 5 production in the league is top 5 production in the league, and that's what DJ Moore has given you.
Right.
So he can be generational. Is he going to be so generational like Randy Moss or Jerry Rice that he is lapping the competition as the number 1 wide receiver in the league? That's going to be tough. Right. He's certainly capable. He's a great wide receiver, but it takes 2 to tango, and you need a good offense and a good system and a good quarterback and a good offensive play caller to get the most out of Marvin Harrison Jr. So no, I would take the haul.
Right. So the reason why I asked the question, Greg, because it took me a while to come up with my take on the whole MHJ situation, right? And here's my thing. Not just isolated to the haul you would get for Marvin Harrison Jr. Understanding what we just discussed about where we are, right? Ryan Poles has established a good foundation of building this roster, and we're trending up. It's about timing for me. So if we could potentially double down on the haul that we got for DJ Moore last year and replicate that twice over, maybe to a lesser degree with the second first-round pick, but if it comes anything close to that, and we can potentially double down on the haul we got for DJ Moore, I believe the Bears and Ryan Poles set themselves up for the future to establish this team as the dominant team in this division. And you take your big swing next year with the draft picks. Again, we replicate it twice. We get 2 first-rounders next year potentially, right?
Right.
You take your big swing next year after you've established the roster a little bit. The other part of that is that people forget when I bring this up is the 2 established players that would be the equivalent to DJ Moore this year, right? That you would get in the haul, right? So you get to pick from other teams' roster and decide, you know what I'm saying, what player I want. I want Buda Baker. I want Max Crosby. If you want to move up, give me Buda Baker. Las Vegas, if you want a quarterback, you give me Max Crosby and your first rounders, and we're off. We're balling. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm not trying to decide whether it's Marvin Harrison Jr. or nothing. I'm trying to say, what's the business side of this thing? And I'm not going to be mad. I'm trying to prepare the Bears fans not to be upset if Ryan makes the best business decision for the Chicago Bears. That's what I'm trying to do.
No, and this is the thing I've been trying to preach here, especially since like Justin Fields returned and looked as good as he did against Detroit. Certainly interested to see that chess match here now that it comes back to Chicago. Right. And I'm hoping that this time around the Bears make some adjustments because, lines are going to make adjustments back. But regardless of all that, and I'm sure we'll get into that.
Yeah.
When Justin showed just how well he did first game back after 35 days off, I came to the final conclusion because we've all had our opinions on what they should do with the number 1 pick. And my prediction has been for quite some time that they're going to draft a quarterback if they're picking one. But I'm with you, Coach T. If they decide to trade back for a haul, I'll be excited. No. If they decide to draft Marvin Harrison Jr., I'll be excited.
Right.
And if they draft Caleb Williams, there'll be a part of me that's like, please God, work out. Yeah. But I'll still be excited for Caleb Williams. And that's why I just think that's why I'm so number 1 obsessive. Like tonight, I'm going to be on pins and needles watching the Patriots game because I'm rooting for the Patriots to beat Mitch Trubisky and the Steelers. I need the number 1 pick so they have those 3 options.
Right.
But I can understand an argument for all 3 things being a great, great thing for the Bears. And that's a great position to be in. Ryan Poles put us in that position, by the way.
Yeah, I'm going to hold off on the last portion of that you said there right there with the Caleb Williams part of it, because I think that's a situational thing where for me, whether I get excited or not, right? And it's connected to the coaches. So I'm gonna kind of go down the roster with this from a coaching standpoint. Matt Eberflus, man, I know he struggled from a PR standpoint with the media and the fans, but a lot of talk this week amongst the fan and the media, especially on my show last week or earlier this week, on parts that we didn't think about. The fact that no matter we've been on a couple of long losing streaks in the last couple of years, and you don't hear about fracturing of this locker room, right? He may
Mhm.
come off as a you know what I'm saying, as a new nincompoop to us, right? But he hasn't lost the locker room. You don't hear about, you know what I'm saying, locker room turmoil and guys turning on each other. You don't see it on the sideline. We got rid of the guy that did that, right? You don't hear about it on the sideline. You don't see about blow-ups or anything like that. How do you feel like, you know what I'm saying, he's kind of faring with in his tenure outside of the record?
Well, I'll say this. I see, yeah, exactly. Because I think the record part is disingenuous. Last year they had ripped this roster down to the studs, and by the time Justin Fields got hurt in the second half of the year, there was it was actually better for the team that they were losing than winning. Not that they were trying to lose, because if you watch those games, you could clearly tell they weren't trying to lose. Their roster gave them no choice. So I don't cite the record, whether it comes to the head coach or the quarterback, when that's concerned. But I do for this year. And I do put the onus on Matt Eberflus for this team not coming ready to play week 1 against Green Bay. That
Right.
shit was embarrassing.
Yeah.
Week 2 against Tampa Bay, a winnable game that comes down to the end. And if the correct coaching adjustments had been made, maybe that's a win. Maybe that's one step closer to being in the playoff picture right now.
Yeah.
That was a failure. I don't blame them for the Kansas City game as far as losing it,
Yeah.
but that was the closest he's came in his tenure to losing the locker room. Because if you go, it's been a while now, but if you rewind back to that day, that was the week that Alan Williams stuff came out, and they had no idea how to address it to the media.
Right.
Justin Fields called out the coaching staff during the week, and that all went crazy in the media. And then they go and get their ass kicked against the Kansas City Chiefs, and Taylor Swift's dancing on our graves. And Matt Eberflus, like at that point, I know that there were people working the sidelines that have played for this team that said that team gave up in the second quarter, that they did not care.
Yeah.
And so that's the one time I think in the 2-year tenure of Matt Eberflus that I think this team did let go of the rope on him.
Yeah.
But since then, they've been a 500 team.
Yeah.
Since
And that's
then,
fair.
Yeah.
No, that's fair, because now that I think about it, I remember a lot of reports coming off the sidelines that the team had given up in the game. A lot had gone on that week, right? The Justin Fields is the coach situation.
Right.
Like you said, Alan Williams, like if there was a time to lose a team, it would have happened then, is my opinion. Everything after that was uphill. Like and then Chase was right after that too, right?
Yep. Chase was right after that as well. So since then, it's been on the uptick. Almost since Chase left, there's been a different vibe within the entire locker room, because they got rid of Chase, and then they played really well against Denver and blew it, right? I'm pretty sure that's where that coincided, but they at least showed a sign of life in that game, and they've been playing 500 football ever since. So where I stand with Matt Eberflus, if that's where the question is, because like I'm trying to rewind back to exactly how you frame this to me.
Yeah. Go ahead. Give it.
Where I'm keeping an open mind with Matt, and I can't believe I'm saying this, because I've fired him like 3 or 4 times on our post game shows this year.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if I'm going to be fair to it, since they got Montez Sweat, since the secondary has gotten healthy, the return of Kyler Gordon, Tyreek Stevenson's going to be back this week. The defense has been playing really well, really encouraging. You're starting to see the vision for how Matt Eberflus wants to run a defense, and he's taken over play calling. He doesn't have a defensive coordinator to lean on. He's doing this all by himself. So while we are very hard on the coaching, and they deserve it, and if they get fired, they, in my opinion, have no one to blame but themselves in a lot of ways. At the same time, I am going to give them the credit for the things they have done right.
Right.
And that's the defense starting to turn the corner. If we flipped it over to the offensive side of the ball, because I don't just dismiss the offense for Matt Eberflus. That's on his watch too.
Yeah.
And the way the offensive line has started to come together, I'll give the coaching staff, including Matt Eberflus, credit for that as well. There are things starting to turn the corner here. And as much as we've kind of got our opinions about guys, players, or coaches set in stone, we have to acknowledge when things start to turn the corner, at least trying to give credit when credit is due.
Yeah, and I always say this about football, especially on this show, that winning is not linear, right? It's not a direct path from point A to point B, right? It shows up in you play better for a quarter, a half, 3/4 of a game, and then you win. And we saw that versus Detroit. We were close, and then we squeaked out a win versus Minnesota. So it didn't. Why? Why everybody want to call me right now? It just doesn't come like that. It doesn't come linear. It's a process, right? And we're seeing that process. And I think you make a good point, Greg, about Matt Eberflus also being responsible for the offensive side of it too, because and that's where I'm going to segue into Luke Getsy, because on this show, I've been more than critical of Luke Getsy for the last 2 years, and that's where kind of you know what I'm saying. I handed you the infamous drunk uncle award last year because really at the beginning of the season, I thought it was premature that we were actually having talks of Luke Getsy being mentioned as a head coaching candidate, and I'm like, hold on, guys, he hadn't won anything yet, not a division, and really, to me, and I understand like how I look at the game is different, but to me, he still hadn't put together a good game plan that called a end-to-end game from a complete game yet. And I still think that, with the exception of the Washington game, perhaps he had a complete game against Washington, even having lost his running backs. I still give him credit for that. I give him credit for the New England game last year. But in about 2 years, I've only seen 2 or 3 games where he called a complete game through and through. And so, for me, head coaching opportunities out of the door for me. Like, what is your, like, how are you feeling? Because you're a little bit closer to Hallis Hall than I am, obviously. But because I've heard more noise in the last 2 weeks about Luke Getsy than I have in the last 2 years. And I also thought today's press conference was a little poignant, that I'm going to get into, because we had a little bit disagreement of some X's and schematics there. And I want to straighten that out too. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think some of the things I'm hearing is that that I don't know if all the players are as impressed with Luke Getsy as Luke Getsy is as impressed with himself.
Right.
I feel that. I think there's certain players on this team that I've heard different stories from multiple different, like, separate individuals about the same player, that he's not happy with the way he's being used, not happy with the way the offense is designed, that's setting him up to not have a good year.
Right.
Darnell Mooney is that player. I've heard those things, that he don't like it, so I can't confirm those. It's just rumors that I hear from different people. But when I start hearing them from multiple different people, and it's the same verbiage, but coming from people that don't even know each other, I'm like, maybe there's some smoke there. And I would understand. I would understand from that perspective. Darnell Mooney's in a contract year, and they're throwing him screens that barely have a chance.
Or have him blocking on screens.
Or have him blocking on screens. Exactly. So he's either having to do the dirty work and lay the block, or he's getting laid out on the screen that isn't getting executed properly, and like, I rewind back to that Chiefs game, actually, when they called a screen at the very end of the game, when the game was completely out of hand, and he got missiled, he got laid out, and and now he's going to walk into a negotiating room and try to get fair market value for what he thinks he's worth. So I've heard those whispers that not everybody in the locker room is in love with him, not just Mooney, but other players as well. Can't 100% confirm that. I'm not in that locker room. I'm not credentialed like Mark or Adam or Nick or any of those guys, but I talk around and hear the vibes of what's going on. But at the end of the day, nobody knows. I think everybody's just, week to week, just to try to smooth what I just said over, but it's the truth. Like, I think people are just trying to get through week to week as best they can. So, I don't know. To me, I don't think Luke Getsy is safe here. I think that much we know for certain. Like, I think there's things under evaluation for the rest of the year, but I think it's, unless something extreme happens here these last 5 weeks, and they have like an insane turnaround where they lift themselves up to 8 wins on the season, and that's because the offense is playing well, that they're going to go in a different direction. Now, again, while I don't like the way Luke Getsy has called plays this year, and I don't like the way he hasn't taken personal accountability as much as I'd prefer in the press conferences and constantly talking about lack of execution and not talking about his play calling philosophy or
Right.
his system as
Right.
much as being the problem as execution is.
Right.
Again, I do got to give him credit for the offensive line really starting to turn it around.
Right.
You know, the last 2 years, they've been a good running team. Then when the Denver and Washington game hit, all of a sudden, I mean, you could see it. You don't even have to understand ball like Coach T does.
Mhm.
You could see in the Washington game, certainly in the Denver game too, how much of a pocket was being created.
Right.
You know, and that was with Larry Borum blocking too.
Right.
Like they didn't even have their starting left tackle, and Nate Davis was out for a little bit. That
Mhm.
also coincided with Tevin Jenkins returning, who has been outstanding. But
Right.
again, let's give the coaches credit for that because he was hesitant to be a guard. And they said, no, man, you're a guard. And now he's one of the when he's healthy, one of the better guards in the league.
Yeah.
So that's where, hey, I'm going to be fair to it. I'm going to give a critical eye, but I'm also going to give credit for the things that do look right. But I don't know if that's enough for Luke Getsy to save his job at the end of the year.
By the way, Greg, the people on the show may maybe not understand our relationship, man. If y'all don't know it, man, Greg is one of my favorite people in Bears DIY media. I mean, how often do I say that, Greg? I think I say that. I think I say
you're saying about me. Yeah, I was gonna say about other people, maybe not often.
Yeah. No, bro. I mean, we hit it off from like day one last year, just having discussions about life. Because when we talk offline, we talk about life. And I think you're one of the most balanced people when it comes to Bears takes. You know what I'm saying? As far as, you know, it's like, hey, you know, I'm gonna give credit here, but I'm gonna call out what I see, but I'm gonna give credit here. I'm gonna balance it both ways. But also, what I love about you, Greg, is, you know what I'm saying, standing on your takes, man, and not really like being able to shrug it off, like if I'm right or wrong, and being able to joke about it, right? Because we did the drunk uncle thing last year. You came in with jokes, man, and I was like, I don't know what this guy gonna think I'm an asshole or what. I meant it in humor, but I never know how the mainstream media or the bigger channels are gonna take it, especially with things. Sometimes I don't care.
We've gotten to a point, especially this year, everybody's just way too sensitive. Like this shit is supposed to be fun.
Right.
You know, and I don't take any of it personally. You know, I can take a step back. Like we all got pride, we all got ego.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you gotta humble yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
And not everybody, you don't have to be the smartest person. You know, like this is sports, man, and we all want the same thing as far as the team winning. We all might understand something on a different level, one way or the other.
Right.
You might understand it X's and O's. I might understand it because I'm hearing things from people that are in the locker room one way, or understand it from a media's perspective of why the narrative gets spread around. But like just the way people have gone to a personal level about things across the board because we don't agree on things is silly. And if you can't get in a room with someone and talk with somebody that has a differentiating opinion, like I'm sorry, we're getting to a point now where we got to separate the men from the boys.
Right.
And the men can have a conversation, and if we don't agree, shake hands and laugh and be done with it at the end of the conversation. And the boys are going to go to the insults, personal digs, going at your families, and all this other bullshit that I don't really have much time for.
Yeah, that's and I appreciate, like I said, I appreciate so much about you, like not just that part of it, but also a lot of people don't know, like Greg has served as kind of like a personal mentor of mine for this Bears DIY media things. I run things through them, ideas I'm thinking about doing with the show and so on and so forth. Hey, the fans are responding to X's and O's film breakdowns, but I want to do entertainment. Greg, what should I do here or there? So here's the opportunity for me to sort of, you know what I'm saying, practice some humility, because I had a take, Greg. I did a whole show on Brad Biggs, right? Answer to his Q&A where he called the screen gate RPOs, right? And I know plenty of people in the comment section saw Luke Getsy's press conference today, where Luke Getsy came out and said, yeah, that was RPO-ish, right? He didn't say it was RPOs, but he said it was RPO-ish. And I already had people in the comment section said, well, Luke came out and he said those were RPOs. And Justin Fields had the opportunity to choose whether he was gonna, I guess, check to a run or throw the screen, or or he had between those two options. But we went through the tape on the show, and I was listening to that, and I was really confused because we went through the tape on the show. And by definition, my definition, I've already reached out to coach friends of mine. I was like, guys, have I missed something in the last 4 or 5 years where we changed the definition of an RPO? Because to me, a RPO is a dynamic run, play, pass. It's not a called play where the offensive coordinator gives you a check, right? You get to come to the line of scrimmage and check between run and pass. It's a snap the ball. I get the option, like you're running an option play, a dynamic play where you stick it in the belly and you get both the run and the pass option. And so to me, if that's what Luke is calling the RPO, that differs from a lot of my coach friends' definition of an RPO. And then my follow-on question to that is, if that's what you mean is an RPO, if that's what you're defining as RPO, run, check, pass, right? The quarterback gets both plays. He gets the option to run and he gets to check it to a run or pass. Then what are you using as audibles? What are you calling as an audible? That would be confusing to me as a quarterback, right? Because I got an RPO play, but I have other audible plays. Like, what are you doing? Like that presser, I listened and I rewound it back 100 times because of the RPO take. And to me, it was very it sounded like Luke was, and I'm not trying to be super hard, and y'all know I'm not trying to justify my take at all. I'll stand on it. But it sounded like Luke was trying to get over on the press room. Like, I know terminology, you guys don't, and I'm gonna let this one, I'm gonna fly this one over your head because I don't expect anybody to pick up on the terminology. That's what I was taking away from it.
Well, they were joking. Hogue was joking about it today with Carm while we interviewed Hogue on his check-in. And he was like, the way Luke Getsy walks to that podium every week is like, you'd think he thought he was Bill Walsh. Like he's just got this confidence about himself, even though he doesn't have the resume to have this kind of confidence. So they noticed that too about him. And then the other question we had in regards to this whole RPO debate is like, okay, it's either a run or a screen. Well, how come it can't be a run and a slant?
Right. Yeah, that's like, more. That's also. So let's open up that bag of worms too, right? Because there's more to the RPO game than run or screen. Like you said, it's run or pass. Any combination that would include a slant or an in-breaking route would have beat 8-man front coming at you off of pressure, the blitz, right? That's the other part of it. There's also the opportunity to run to the perimeter on tile sweep, because I tell this to the show all the time, the people that follow the show all the time. The beauty and the strategy behind football is they play with 11 men. So the line is always going to be imbalanced. You can come up with an even front under center, and you can count numbers and say, hey, I might have an 8-man front, but I got 5 on this side, 3 this side. I'm a toss sweep away from the pressure,
right,
from under center. It's not that freaking hard, Luke. And so he gave the answers today that the screen and the tight end delay and one more thing were his answers to pressure is what I heard. Like, it was the most, and watch this. I want to take a step back for my followers and say this. I've said this on the show all the time. I don't mind being wrong about X's and O's. That's why I reached out to my friends who were coaching and said, hey, do any of you all use this as a definition for RPO? Because guess what? What I don't want to do is get behind, right, as a coach, right? So I'm like, let me keep up. But it was the most, because I felt like he did that answer. Then I felt like he kind of a little bit threw Justin under us, not being hypersensitive to Justin, because if that's what he called, and Justin, if he called that, if this is what he installed, and you repeatedly ran screens, I'm going to put that on you a little bit, because you got to go to the sideline and be like, coach, this is fucking stupid. What are we doing? You know what I'm saying? What are we doing?
Right.
Like I've said on this show a number of times, it's time. It's the part of the season where I expect Justin to start speaking out. Like, I'm not going to give him a break on that shit. It's time for you to start speaking up.
Because the hardest part too is you run an RPO run screen. on a defense that's one of the more disguised, if not the most disguised defense in football.
Right.
So you're the whole predicate of what you're deciding, run or pass, when you don't know who's blitzing in the front, you're looking at who's going to drop back, who's going to rush, and that's the most simplistic understanding I have of what the quarterback's job
Right.
is to do there. But to me, it's like you're not helping yourself trying to do run pass. To me, you need to just run up to the line of scrimmage and understand what your play is and not worry about what the defense on the other side is doing, because they're disguising everything so much anyway that what the fuck, how are you supposed to differentiate what you're looking at?
So that's a great point, Greg. And there's two, you're giving me ideas and things to discuss. So one, what the fuck is the run part of the RPO going to do anyway if you got a 7-8 man line, right? I'm not talking about 7-8 man box, but if you have them all up on the line of scrimmage, if you're doing an RPO from the gun, it's different from running the ball from under center. There's a different dynamic to it, right? But if you already have guys standing in their gaps, what is the run part of that going to do for you? There's another part that I want to emphasize, and I just had a old man moment. But there's so many things that he says, and then like today in the presser, he said the RPO thing. Then he said, "Well, that's on Justin to get us in and out of it. If it is, great, Justin, you got to speak up." The other part is after it's not working the fifth or sixth time, you got to speak up. I'm going to put that part on you. The other part of that is those were your only three answers for pressure, and that's not good enough, Luke. And it seemed like again, and then he mentioned something about the run connected to the RPO, like that was our plan of attack for, like it was gibberish. Like go back and listen to it, guys. Slow it down and let me know if it's just me. Today's presser, it felt like he was trying to float one over the presser's heads. You guys don't know this terminology anyway, so I'm just throw some shit out there.
Yep.
And the last part was he added on the 2 turnovers, like piling that on. Like it had nothing to do with the question. It had zero, and I'm not trying to be super
No, you're right.
defensive of Justin. The questions that were asked sequentially had nothing to do with what he said. I felt like he was super nervous. He knew he was going to have to answer those questions about all the screens. He was incoherent in his speech a lot on what he said today, and then he threw the damn turnovers on in the end, man. I'm like done with this dude, man. I'm like he frustrates me so much, and I feel like
I don't blame you. I mean, both coaches do this crap where, I mean, Eberflus was asked specifically, what do you need to do better, in this situation to win the game against the Lions? And then he started talking about, like the Saints game or something. Like he didn't answer the question directly. He was totally dodging when Jason
throwing throwing his resume out there. Oh
right.
yeah,
he was. I'm the defense. And when we did this, now I was the one calling plays there. Like the arrogance of both these guys at times and not taking enough personal accountability has been offensive to me. And the other thing Eberflus did too was he was talking about Jalen Johnson, and he was like, about the interceptions, and he was like, well, he had a wall there. Like he like totally skipped over the part that he got the interception and talked about how he didn't have a better return on the interception.
This week was funny because he started talking about hand angles, and I'm like, dude, okay, if you're going through individual drills at practice, you might be talking to your players about hand angles when you catching the ball, but what the fuck relevance does that have to do to the media room right now? I'm not trying to finna give you a doctoral dissertation on, cornerback hand angles when he's catching a ball. Like
right.
I get it. Just say, coach, he got to catch that ball. You got to catch that ball. He went to bed. We're going to rep it in practice and get out of there.
Squalls is saying no accountability. That's all it is, man. And that's why I took such exception to the release statement when Justin came back. And okay, he was asked the question, what does Justin Fields need to do? They easily could have said, even if they didn't think it was the truth, they could have easily said, Well, Justin's done everything he can. Justin's always shown us he's the leader, so we just expect him to be the same player he has been for the last 3 years for this organization, and we're just going to go about trying to win games. That isn't what they said. They come out and say, well, we want to see more consistency. We want to see him prove to us he can win games at the end and execute the 2-minute drill and not turn the ball over and not take sacks. Like, oh, damn, putting him on blast, putting him up against the wall and saying, this is what you got to show me. Where the fuck is your guys' consistency?
Right.
You're the head coach. You're the offensive coordinator. You guys have never won back-to-back games in 2 years here as the coaching staff. Like, how about taking personal accountability about what you need to show as far as being consistent? I need to put the players in the best position they can to win games.
We all need to be better.
Right.
We all need to be better.
We all need to be consistent. That's how a leader talks.
Yeah. We all need to be better. You know what I'm saying? And usually what head coaches do, they'll start with themselves. I need to be better, right? I'll need to be better in that situation. I need to communicate to the position coach better, and the position coach needs to communicate better with the player. The player needs to make the play that we're trained to do. We need to make sure we're practicing that in individuals, and you're going to see better from us. It's that simple. I think, and I might have been guilty of this once, twice when I was in corporate, right? I think a lot of times you're trying to maybe impress the audience and you use more words than you need to, and you end up sounding stupid giving word salad for doing it. But let's skip into from Luke Getsy. Let's get into, because we got a big game this weekend. A great opportunity for this Bears team to really stack 2 wins in a row, but also to kind of rectify what happened 2.5 weeks ago in Detroit. I was in that game, by the way, and absolutely finished. And I think there were some questions asked Luke Getsy, how you approach. You just seen the 2 years. Do you change everything? Do you do anything? How does the chess match go? Like what are you seeing happen? This is a home game. It's at Soldier Field. Like what does this game mean to this Bears team? What does it mean to us as fans? Like what's the I have a very strong opinion and take about this game being the definitive game for one particular person in this game.
Yeah, to me, the word of this game is adjustments.
Yeah.
And we're going to find out if they're capable of making any. No. You lose to Detroit at the end when you should have won that game. You'd be on a 3-game winning streak had you.
Right.
Okay, you go to Minnesota on the primetime stage. Not the prettiest game. Minnesota's not the easiest team to face.
Right.
So I can understand that. You come out with a win. You made some adjustments from the first game where you're not ready for their blitz, and you did enough to win that game.
Right.
You come into now Detroit where you had their number. You caught them by surprise. They were not ready for you.
Yeah.
I know Detroit's going to make adjustments coming into this game because their coaching staff has their team ready to play the last 2 years. They're battle tested. They're in the fight. They beat New Orleans here last week. New Orleans made a run on them at the end, but then again, Detroit makes adjustments. Jamison Williams on a fucking reverse to win the game. At the end of the day, they come away with the win. So I know Detroit's going to come ready to play. I know Detroit's going to make the proper adjustments. Mm-hmm. Now, is this team going to make it? And to be honest, as much as I want this team to win 9 games, and we just, float off into the playoffs and we're on the highest of highs we have been in a long time in this city, I think the Bears are going to lose this game on Sunday because I don't have any confidence that they're going to make the proper adjustments against a well-coached team in Detroit. As much as they're at home, it's going to be cold in Detroit.
This is almost like the Green Bay game, right? It's everything. It should be stacked in our favor. We kind of lured the prey into the trap, so to speak, right? Like we did at the beginning of the season. Aaron Rodgers is gone. Jordan Love is starting his first, division game at home. Everything is set up for the Bears to do the right thing, to go out and dominate. Yet again, to me, this resembles the feeling of that game. And guess what, Greg? I agree with you. I believe we come out and wet the bed. And I know this is not going to be popular, but I believe we're going to go out and wet the bed, not because of, the players aren't ready. I believe the players are going to be more than hyped for this game. not because the player's not up for this game. I saw the St. Brown Twins podcast last night. I was up late and watching those guys go back and forth about this game. The players are going to be up for this game. I think Matt Eberflus is going to have this defense on point. He really had what's the offensive coordinator in Detroit?
Ben Johnson.
He had Ben Johnson's number in the first game. I mean, he had his number with the exception of when Detroit went in their 2-minute offense, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the half, at the end of the game, with the exception of that, Ben Johnson had no options. And I remember I was in the stands. Had a bunch of Detroit fans around me, obviously. And I said, listen, y'all's boy is scared. You know what I'm saying? Matt Eberflus has his number. And this is how, when I talk about feeling the game as a play caller, I could feel where Ben Johnson was at that moment. But because he called like 5 runs in a row after Jared Goff had threw the 2 first picks. And I'm like, he's scared to call a pass play for this kid. He doesn't know what to do. So I believe Matt Eberflus is still going to have similar success and hopefully patch up the 2-minute defense and know when to bring pressure in 2-minute situations and when to fall back into his play coverage. That's the difference. I still don't believe Jared Goff has found an answer for the cover 2 zone that we ran a lot in Detroit, which was hard for Jared Goff to find the holes. My biggest thing is we're at home. It's going to be cold. It's supposed to be either rainy or snow. It's Chicago. We can't come out in 11 personnel and try to fling the ball all over the yard, which I don't trust that Luke Getsy will not try to do. I think he's still going to come out in heavy 11 personnel, and I would love to be wrong. I would love to come on here Tuesday after the game and say I was dead wrong. Luke came out in heavy 12 personnel, because that, to me, that was a difference in the Washington game. The Washington game is where we ran the heaviest personnel groups all season. We ran 12 personnel the majority of the game and 13, 21, 22 personnel. So I'm expecting him to come out and wet the bed because he wants to try to fling the ball all over yard in an obvious situation where he should be trying to run the ball. And that's why. So this is why I'm saying, if he does that, I think all of Chicago going to be on his ass. The whole fan base is going. This will be the moment. We've already seen, Ryan Poles up in the booth.
Yep.
Man, why does people want to call me now?
Well, you're a busy man.
Yeah, kids, mom, hang the heck up, man. What are y'all doing?
Yeah, you ordering pizza? You ordering pizza for tonight? Right. I mean, come on, man. That's what they're looking for.
Right. Yes, because that's because they know where the ducats come from. That's what it is. they know where their bread is buttered. But I think we've already seen Ryan Poles in the booth. You know what I'm saying, commenting on the offense's tempo. I've heard other Bears media folks say that there's rumblings about Luke Getsy, Matt Eberflus. They actually seen on video Matt Eberflus calling the offenses around and actually starting to get involved with the offensive play calling. And if that's the case, if Luke comes out and wets the bed, and I think Matt's press conference really focused more on Luke yesterday too. He said some really poignant things about Luke in his press conference yesterday as well. I think if he wets the bed today on Sunday, I think I think Chicago has decided who's going to be the scapegoat in this situation. I think it's justified. So I don't think we win because I don't think he has the chops to do it, man. I just don't think he can do it.
Yeah, it's hard to see how the Bears. I don't know. I mean, it's at home. It's cold. Maybe the defense has been playing well, but Detroit's battle tested. Detroit ain't afraid to get into a dogfight, grinder game. They can win in a shootout. They've proven they can win different ways. The Bears haven't proven they can win different ways. Bears haven't proven they can win 2 games in a row. So I got to see it this week.
Man, these people got me calling. They're calling me, man. They got me all off my square in terms of where we are in the show, man. Listen, Greg, I changed it up a little bit. I'm not the one giving out the Drunk Uncles award on the show now. I extend that invitation to the guest of the show now. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to get into this DM section real fast, but I want you to think about who in Bears DIY media land, hell, it could be me. I don't know who Greg Braggs would give the drunk uncle award to. It could be the fan base at large. I don't know, man, but we gonna get in these DMs.
Well, screw it. We'll just give this guy a shout out. He's been getting. I gave him a shout out on our show today too.
Hold on, man. You gotta let me set. You gotta let me set it up, man.
All right, set it up.
Let me get into DM sections real fast for her, give some shout outs real fast, and then we'll come back and give out the drunk uncle award. Let's do
Did
it.
you get like some crazy DMs or what?
Very.
Surprises or no?
It's like in like blue check marks.
Yeah, like
People who be sliding, and I'm like, wow, y'all fuck with me like that.
Y'all F with us like that, man. This is my boy. This your boy, Coach T, Chicago Bears 360, Greg Braggs on the show. This is my guy, man. This is my guy, man. I didn't ran into a lot of guys on Bears media and all this other stuff. You know what I'm saying? Me and Greg give each other shit all the time, and in the spaces, man. We have fun in the spaces, all that stuff, man. But listen, I want to give a quick shout out to some of the longtime followers of the show. Jay Sanders in the show. I'm not going to have a whole lot of time for questions and stuff. If I see a question mark, we'll answer it. If y'all got questions, I'll keep it up. Marifa, what up, my guy? Greg, you might recognize some of these names. Brian Hendren,
Isaiah,
Mr. Mayhem.
Isaiah's in the chat. You can boot Isaiah if you want.
You want me to boot Isaiah?
Mute him and boot him. Pack him up.
Aaron said, I'm flabbergasted as to why we haven't fired and demoted Getsy. Clearly doesn't vibe with JF1. I agree with you, man. One, I feel like the guys that they've insulated these guys by having incompetent guys underneath them. And so who do you go to? Janako? And ain't no telling what you're going to get, man. I feel like Justin Fields, he said something too today that irritated me too. He said, the ultimate decision is with the quarterback. He said that today in the press conference. I'm like, what? I would never say that. Like, I know I'm just a peewee high school football coach. I would never say the ultimate decisions with the quarterback. Like, that's crazy as hell to me, bro. I felt like that was an under the bus moment right there. Opportunity to kind of deflect blame a little bit, but I don't know, man.
Yeah, they it's almost like they've been in the interrogation room too long and they're cracking. Like, yeah, they don't know how to just hold the line,
get waterboarded.
Do what the leader should do and just give they've been broken down so much. And it's an ego thing too. They read the tea leaves. They know everybody knows what their reputation starts to become and perception across the league and media. And they start to get tired of, and I'm sure, Getsy's heard it about the screen since the Minnesota game. So he's like, I'm going to explain myself instead of having enough pride to say, I don't have to explain this to you guys. You don't understand. You're not in our building. So I'm not even going to take the time with you guys to explain it because my players understand it. You know what I mean?
That's wild.
That's called CYA. Cover your ass.
Right.
That's called.
And like I said, go back and watch the presser. He looked visibly nervous answering those questions and feel like he, kind of stumbled over his words and kind of got lost in incoherent speech. And then he made it about the blocking, the run game, and then the two turnovers. I was like, what are you doing?
Because that's what happens when you start to worry about your future, your job, right? You start to point fingers, because you're like, well, it ain't my fault. Hey, you thought this was me. This is actually them. And I want to make that clear because when I go to my next job, I'm not wearing this, and that's what happens. Like, I mean, even Justin, it happened to him during the Chiefs week. Yeah. Did he have every right to call out the coaches and say, he's asked, why haven't you been comfortable coaching is what he said.
Right.
He was being honest, but there was also some CYA in there. They're 0-2 looking at 0-3 down the barrel. Everything's looking all over the place. And he's sitting there like, you're not going to throw me under. You're not going to let the media.
I'm hearing the noise, bus. Right? Yeah.
And Getsy's not walking to the podium having my back. He keeps saying it's about execution instead of saying I need to do better. Right. And so instead of Getsy being the guy that should have walked up and said I need to help my quarterback out more, he drove Justin to a point where Justin then had to stick up for himself because at some point you got to CYA. And, because if your coach isn't going to do it or your players aren't going to do it for your coaches one way or the other, then when you get to the offseason, you've lost your job. Your reputation is what dictates your money, you know,
Right.
and so that's what it becomes is, you know, everybody kind of looking out for themselves. It's a shame.
Yeah, Aaron has a great take right here. I have zero faith in Getsy beyond the first 15 plays.
Right.
I would agree with that. I feel like I feel like you can tell how the game plan is going to go within the first 3 or 4 plays, just formation wise, right? I can tell how the game's going to go, but I definitely don't have any confidence in him outside of you know what I'm saying, the 15 play script. And then also I've made a point about this, Greg, and I don't know if you heard my take on this, and it's something that jumped out of me because we've been doing these intense film sessions on the show, right? Where I compare Luke Getsy's first script versus the coordinator. So I take a common opponent, right? The common opponent that we face, and I compare Luke Getsy's approach and how he's attacking them with his first 10 to 15 plays versus how opponents that have defeated those common opponents, how they approached it. And for the most part, it's been glaring differences, with the exception of the one I did yesterday with Todd Monken. Todd Monken is probably the tape that Luke Getsy studied when he said how he's going to approach Detroit, because it was heavy level of personnel. You know what I'm saying? 2 drives, he ran the ball probably totally 3 times, and I'm just not a fan. I'm not a fan. They're asking those quarterbacks to do way too much in those situations. I'm going to get to a few more of these comments. I'm looking for some questions. Derek Carter said, I feel Chicago has Detroit's number. Bears have played 56 minutes of good football in football the last match. I agree. I just don't know. I feel like Matt can get his stuff fixed. I'm just not confident that, you know what I'm saying, that, you know, Luke can do the same, man. So listen, man, big shout out to all the field soldiers for now. I don't know how long that's going to last. In the comments, thank y'all for checking in with us, man. Listen, I want to point this out as well. I believe, and I'm not sure, over the last 2 shows, we've broken records of people in the comment. Last show, we broke the record of 30 people in the comments. Today, we went over 40. So, Greg, I don't know, man. You're going to have to come back. You got that star power, my butt.
Yeah, I guess so. I wouldn't say I'm a star. I'm a celebrity for stupid reasons, for sure. The best comment I saw in the chat, too, was from Aaron Starks. He said, I learned in the Navy that the troops don't work for the leader. The leader works for the troops.
Yeah.
Put them in a position to succeed. Take the blame. Share the credit. That was really well said. Really well said there. And it's the truth. Like, you know, if that's somebody that's comfortable in their own skin, they say, I understand I'm the leader, so I don't mind taking the blame because I am the leader and I know we're on the right track. And if I get the credit, even if I know it's all because of me, I'm going to share that credit with everybody else, lift everybody else as we climb. And that's what real leadership is. That's what they teach you in the military. Yeah. But on a football field, you know, where money is involved and politics are involved, you know, and it's
CYA. It's a CYA business.
CYA mode, 100%. When you got to go to, you know, Hallis Hall and talk to Mark Carman every day, and he's gonna find those little things you said and twist them up and turn it into a show on Wednesday. You gotta watch what you say.
Tell Carm to take a look at Getsy's press again and have fun with it. Do me a favor and have fun with it. And somebody tag me when they do that show, because I want to see what Carm does with that presser. But shout out to
I said today, Carm said he was like, this dude walks to the podium like he's Bill Walsh. That was the quote he had.
Oh, that was Carm's take on it?
Yeah, that was Carm's
listen, man, I try to be cool with coaches, man, because there is sort of a little bit of a fraternity things with coaches. You know or you don't know. There's a kind of protective fraternity, if you will. But this dude, I've had 2 seasons of watching this dude play or call plays, and really, I think a lot of people don't notice about me, right? The defensive Justin is not a defensive Justin necessarily, as it is a, hey guys, let's first direct the responsibility to the man in charge first before you get to the player. Listen, we get a new coordinator who's an all-world play caller, and if Justin is out there stinking it up, trust me, I will be the first one on this show cooking him show after show. But I'm just 80% of the offense versus Minnesota. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how a person can be successful when they're responsible for 80% of the offense. By the
Right.
way, Aaron, I like Navy dudes. You know what I'm saying? I'm an old Marine myself, and we like you Navy boys. Every time we go to war, man, y'all give us a ride, man.
Yeah.
I have to throw that one out there. That's from a few good men. You know,
Yep.
that's our
Because
brothers
that's
and
a few good men, and that's about Marines, right?
yeah. I was in the Corps,
Right.
so
Because
yeah.
because then the other joke that this is from The Negotiator. Have you ever seen The Negotiator with Samuel L. Jackson?
Yeah.
He tells him, he goes, guy walks into the bathroom, sees a Navy man taking a piss. He walks up, Marine guy goes up and takes a piss. And Marine guy leaves first, and he goes, and the Navy guy, he doesn't wash his hands. He's walking out, and Navy guy goes, in the Navy, they teach us to wash our hands. And the Marine guy said to the Navy guy, in the Marines, they teach us not to piss on our hands.
They teach us to shoot straight. There you go. we're accurate. We have some notable marksmen who are infamous Marines out there, by the way. You know what I'm saying? I have a nice little arsenal in my house as well here. You know, I got to keep my skills sharp. So if anybody ever wants
Well, we
to try,
appreciate your guys' service.
yeah, man.
I couldn't serve and be in the trenches like that because I'd be talking so loud, and we get caught. They'd be like, "Shut the fuck up, Braggs."
Yeah. So Braggs, you'll be like one of my troops. My troops. I used to tell my troops when I had a new troop check into the unit, right? When you reach a certain rank, E6 in the Marine Corps, they give you you still get a rifle, but they give you a standard issue pistol too, right? And your pistol is your service weapon once you're a staff, what we call staff NCO above. And the first conversation I had with my troops, I tell them this story. I say, you know why they give me a pistol and you a rifle, right? And they were like, look at me dumbfounded. And I say, listen, your rifle is for the enemy. My pistol is for you. So I'm giving orders here. If you get out of line, you know what I'm saying? We
Pop.
pop. We gonna send mama a nice little flag, and you know what I'm saying. Anyway, that's a little Marine military joke stuff, man. My guy Burlismo in the chat. Listen, let's set this up. We've given Braxy a time to think about it. I'm finna give the intro for him, and Braxy gonna give us out the Drunk Uncle Award for the show. Here we go.
Anything is possible, got feelings in my cup. I see everything in double, got 2 blunts, I'm rolling up. I've been walking in a circle, no expression, now I'm stuck. 34 decline, cough like Giannis chasing bucks. Anything is possible, got feelings in my cup. I see everything in double.
Hey, Braggs broke out what is that you got over there, my guy?
Got a half gallon of whiskey here.
I got that JD on him.
JD. I always got JD or Crown nearby.
Hey, I'm finna give y'all. I'm finna let y'all in also on the part of my life that y'all probably didn't know either. I can't drink anymore, Bragg.
Really?
Yeah, man. I can't. I haven't been able to drink for 5 years, man. You know what I'm saying? My kidneys wet the bed on me, man. I wish I can't even enjoy a good drink. I mean, I'm gonna pay for it. I can, but that shit might end up in a weekend in a hospital, man. I miss being able to. But it's because I drank so much as a young Marine, man. All we did was drink, cuss, and fight. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I got some great Marine fight stories for you. My first 4 or 5 years, man. I got some great brawls, bro. Great brawls.
There you go.
Great brawls. So Braggs, man, let us know who the drunk uncle. I guess this is partly shared this week. Who's your drunk uncle, man? I know you had time to think about it.
Well, I mean, I gotta give it. You know, I'm gonna keep it general, and then we'll get down to a singular friend.
Okay.
But it's Bears Twitter, man. We've jumped the shark this year. Bears Twitter is just a bunch of drunk uncles yelling at each other this whole season. Nobody can handle a disagreement. Everybody's going personal with things, and it's jumped the shark. And I just don't know if there's gonna come a point where we all kind of take a step back and can laugh for a minute, humble ourselves, and maybe just try to get along in this space. Not every Bears fan is on social media. So this is a small percentage of a much wider scale of Bears fans. I can take you to tailgates where there's tons of Bears fans that never go on Twitter and never have to discuss half the foolishness that we deal with on there. But it's just jumped the shark. How you feel about Justin Fields, how you feel about Caleb Williams, how you feel about Matt Eberflus, how you feel about it's just ridiculous. We can all have a differentiating opinion and still keep it respectful. You can give people shit. Me and Coach T give each other shit, but it doesn't have to get to a place where we start taking personal shots that have a little bit of violence behind our words.
Yeah,
Like I
seen
don't
that.
mind if somebody gives me shit. I can take a joke, even a tough joke. I can take as long as it's coming from a place that is just trying to give you shit and not trying to be volatile. And it's way too volatile. And I know, and I'm saying this because I know it's only going to get worse as we get closer to the end of the year. It's starting to drive up even more when we get into the offseason and we spend, all the way until April.
Nothing but time.
Right. We got all the way until April to try to figure out the direction of this franchise.
Yeah.
I had a guy yesterday come in my chat, come in my mentions on Twitter. Number one jerk. And he lived up to this name. He's actually, he was referencing his Jamaican jerk chicken that he makes out of Joliet. That's right. I looked you up, number one. I looked you up, number one jerk. You're out in Joliet. I know where you're at.
Oh, so he's number one. He makes jerk chicken. So number one jerk chicken restaurant.
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe. And he said, with all due respect, this is about quarterback conversation.
Okay.
And he said to me in my mentions, with all due respect, G Braggs Jr. 23, you are so emotional, which is true. I am an emotional person, no doubt about it. Anybody that's ever been around me knows I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I'm proud of it. And then he goes on to say, Coach T, most heavy emotional men who were raised around a bunch of women are.
Oh, I saw that tweet.
Not sure about you and your dad. Make a decision and write it out about the QB. Quit the back and forth. You sound like a woman trying to pick an outfit on a Friday night. You got to be shitting me. Like, when he's tweeted this at me, I honestly laughed, number one jerk, because I've had worse said to me. So you're not getting under my skin going after my upbringing with, yes, I was raised by women, and I'm fucking proud of it.
There you go. There you go.
Two, you ain't going to get under my skin like that. Like, it takes a lot to get under my skin because I hear it from all different ways and all different shapes and sizes. I see today, Luke Getsy put a thing on the Chicago Bears Twitter that Luke Getsy's holding autism cleats for his daughter. And if you go through the comment section, the Chicago Bears posted of Luke Getsy holding up his cleats and a video of him talking about his daughter, and all these people in the comments making jokes. And I get that they're trying to make a joke at Luke Getsy.
Yeah.
This is about Luke Getsy's
daughter, man. Yeah.
How about you keep it in the DMs with your friend?
Yeah.
Or call your buddy. You want to make a joke? Going on Twitter.
Don't publish it.
Like you're that proud of like seriously, and I'm not trying to stand on some high horse here, but grow the fuck up, dude.
But there are rules of engagement to certain things, and even culturally or whatever. Even the hardest cultures, if you will, even in jail culture, the women and the kids are offline, man. They're off limits, man. You can't. I'm not standing on a high horse either.
Construction. You want to talk about some of the crudest humor you're possibly gonna have? Like the CHGO wouldn't have been able to hire me if they heard half the jokes we made on a job site. We all understand locker room talk and all that. That's why it's locker room or job site talk, or in the military when you're in the barracks talk. In the barracks talk. Like, but it's not something you put on Twitter. Put your name next to it like that. We get to a point, and this is all derived from a differentiating opinion about a fucking quarterback, man. Like, calm down, everybody. And that's why I'm giving the drunk goal to my friend, number one jerk, who sells, Jamaican jerk chicken out of Joliet. And honestly, Coach C, what?
Well, watch this. I know where you're going with this, Bragg. This is how well I know Braggs. I know what you finna say next. Watch this. This is how well I know this dude. I know this dude. I know this man's heart. This man I want y'all to see the next level self-awareness and self-actualization of this dude. And y'all like, oh, Coach T, you just hobnobbing him because he don't see it. Listen, because he's on CHGO. F that, bro. Listen, I told y'all plenty of time. My money good over here. I can fuck up a season's 100 section worth of tickets to Bears game and not blink about it. You know what I'm saying? It's not about that. I don't care about none of that. I just like genuinely good people. And this dude just drunk uncled you. He just clapped back and just plugged your business at the same fucking time, bro.
Yep.
Now, if that's not next level clapping back, man, because he could have cooked your ass, really. But
Yeah.
he could. So watch this. The old good book says, "Don't repay evil with evil. Let's do evil with good." I'm gonna show you how we gonna do this, dude. What is this? What is this at?
At number one jerk.
At number one jerk. At
Yep.
number one jerk. And what's the restaurant in Joliet?
I don't know if he has a restaurant, but
If
it's on number one jerk. If you look on Instagram, and at number one jerk on Twitter. If you go on his Instagram account, you can see different food reviews for his flavorful Jamaican cuisine.
Listen,
Jerk.
watch this. The good book says, "Don't repay evil with evil, overcome evil with good." So watch this. I'm not just a coach of football, I'm a coach of life. Listen, if you're in Juliet, you know anybody Juliet, let them know about number one jerk. And then watch this. This is going to be the hot coals on his head. I want y'all to let him know that Greg Braggs sent you. Greg Braggs sent you. You don't have to mention Coach T. Tell him that Greg Braggs sent you to the restaurant and you get you some amazing jerk chicken from number one jerk in Joliet, Illinois. That's how we get down, Chicago Bears 360. And I'm with you, Greg. Listen, last year, I'm going to tell you, last year was my first year on Bears DIY Media. And I'll be honest with you, bro, I had a shitty time at it because it was my first experience. I didn't know if I wanted to do it. I had a shitty experience there, but I realized, man, don't take it so seriously.
No.
Have fun with it, man. Enjoy it. And that's what I've been doing. If my takes are wrong, guys, they're wrong. I'm going to come back on here and tell you, hey, coach, F that up. But I'm still going to break down these film for you. I'm still keep doing what I'm doing. And we're going to let this thing roll, man. It is what it is, Greg.
No, you're right. You never match, and you're 100% right. Never match the energy if it's coming at you in a negative way. Because it
Joliet.
Yeah, and Joliet. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Joliet. I see SCO 6 straight. Yeah. But you're right. That's the 3D chess I play. Because I brought him up on CHGO too. And the one idea I had is if he did have a restaurant or some way you could like order his food. My plan was for one of our last games, like what we're doing in studio, we always have food on Sundays, is I was going to order a shit ton of food and pay him and make him cook all this shit that we need at CHGO Sports.
Hey, if you still do that, let me know. I'm a slide you some. I'm gonna slide you some bread to over. Hey, listen, we go Keith Lee your ass. I don't know if y'all know about Keith Lee. You know what I'm saying? The food. It's this black food critic out of Las Vegas who's on TikTok, and he's a food critic, and he either can make or break your restaurant based off of his review of your restaurant. So he was here in Atlanta probably about a month ago, and all the restaurant owners that he did a review of that wasn't so favorable, you know what I'm saying? They were ready to run him out of city. So we giving you a little bit Keith Lee action at the same time while we giving you Bears take. Only place you can get that. Listen, and I'm partial. Chicago Bears 360. That's my guy, Greg Braggs. Man, Greg, you want to give us some parting shots, man? I'm gonna get you out of here. You're an important dude, man. Oh, by the way, I do got one beef with you. I do got one beef before you give your part shot. I told you about this in the spaces. I do got one beef with you. Because you called out, you was like, all these people. I heard you I rarely get a chance to catch the show, but I caught this particular show and I was in my feelings. You was like, oh yeah, you got all these guys out here that break down film, like Tim Jennings, JT Olafson. I just knew you was gonna be like, and Coach T. I'm like, damn, man.
I between you and my buddy Draft Dr. Phil, you both are gonna be busting my ass for not putting you up with the big dogs, the Hollywood.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You got it. You got it out the mud. Don't forget about us little dudes out here. You know,
don't need to gas up the Hollywoods.
Yeah, like those guys out. They channels already doing their thing. But listen, we doing our things over here, Chicago Bears 362. By the way, man, less than 60 days back from hiatus, man, and we got over 150 or so subscribers in less than 60 days, man. Y'all killing it, bro. I don't know what to say about that, man. And that's all due to y'all. So listen, I'm gonna get Greg out of here. Give us your parting shots, Greg, and we gonna chop it up in spaces next.
Yeah, I definitely want you to clip the drunk uncle segment like you did last year. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
because Berlissimo's saying it's jerk flavors Joliet, and he might be right there. Because
Okay.
it wasn't clear. And if you do, then we'll give him a real good shout out to hit. But it doesn't really say that that's for sure where he's at, but
Sure.
maybe it is. Would be funny. And then we'll have everybody tell him Greg sent you, which would be beautiful.
That's gonna be great. I'm gonna clip it up for you for sure.
But no, yeah, I appreciate you having me on. Obviously, I'm on CHGO Sports with CHGO Bears, covering the Bears and producing for all the other teams, baseball, basketball, football. I'm dying for Shohei Ohtani. That's why I keep wearing the Cubs stuff every day. This whole week I've been wearing Cubs stuff because I'm wanting the Cubs to make a big free agent acquisition that they probably won't make. So I'm just living and dreaming over here with my Chicago sports teams that continually let me down. And one day I'll have a fleeting moment of happiness with all of my teams. Long gone are the days of living a decade's worth of Michael Jeffrey Jordan. So we get our scraps. We get our 1 year every decade where we get to be excited about our Bears.
Sprinkle it in here and there.
Yeah, and that's what keeps us coming back. But yeah, anytime you ever need me on, happy to jump on. Appreciate you talking some ball with me today. Let's see if the Bears can prove us wrong, because I don't feel great about the game on Sunday, but I'm certainly intrigued. Every game that Justin Fields plays in, I'm always intrigued to see how he does.
Yeah.
And hey, shout out to you, Coach G, because we went through an entire show here, hour and 20 minutes, where we talked about the coaches, we talked about Ryan Poles, we talked about the defense, we talked about drunk uncles on Twitter, and we didn't spend an hour arguing about Justin Fields versus Caleb Williams, which is all anybody ever wants to talk about. So shout out to you for being able to have a show where we're not talking about the same old shit every single day.
Hey, you know what I'm saying? I've been working on my interviewing skills. What can I say? You know what I'm saying? Pop my collar on that. But anyway, man, like I said, man, I just want y'all to stay tapped in, because like I said, Greg is a friend of the show, man. I'm now that we got this whole platform thing figured out now, and we switched over platforms, I have Greg back on occasion. We're gonna have a regular rotation of some of the same friends of the show. So y'all stay tapped in. Tomorrow we're off, right? Tomorrow's Friday, we off. I see y'all on Sunday, pregame 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. I know that's early for a bunch of y'all knuckleheads, but get your ass up, have a cup of coffee, and let's get your day started right. Because y'all know I've been hot on these pregame takes. We're going to break down, we're going to give schematics, specifics about what we expect to see on Sunday versus Detroit Lions. Until then, it's always beers up. And if you smoke blunts up too, and bear down, man. We'll see y'all next time. Coach T, Greg Braggs, we out. Peace.
Appreciate you.
All right, brother.